Welcome back to the Daily Nugget, daily property insights, one topic, 20 minutes or less, 7 days a week. Myself, Lotze, and joined by Jono, Frankle, property investor and a cash flow specialist. And Jono, the question for you today is how to increase cash flow on a property.
Oh, I like this question. This is something that you really want to consider if you're a current investor or looking at buying a property, because cash flow is such a key element in terms of making sure that your property is performing at its best. So I think it's important that when you look at increasing cash flow on properties, you look at the different ways that you can do it. Now, the obvious one, and one that is often missed by many investors, is having a property rented at market rent. And I think this often comes back down to investors maybe that are renting it, looking after it themselves, managing themselves, potentially even renting the property off to family, and they're renting the property at well below market rent. I think it's only fair to rent the property at market rent, and a good property manager will ensure that there's updates and making sure that the price that you're charging is a fair value. The other one that I think is a great way to increase rent, and this is something that I think as an educated investor, you're always looking at ways of being able to grow your yield, which is again your cash flow or the value of your property. And adding some sort of living space is vital, and it's such a powerful way that you can both drive the rent that you're receiving for the property, but also the value. So we're talking about potentially changing the layout of a property to add a bedroom. We're talking about potentially adding a cabin or a sleep out or a room off the side, or even adding a minor dwelling. There's options there. The other one that's very common, and we saw a lot of this over the last few years, is change of usage. So a garage that could be potentially changed into a studio, again, will create more rent, and in turn will mean that we get more cash flow out of it.
Yeah, totally. One of the big things to say on one of those key areas, there is a third one out there, which is usually quite a bit of a larger one, which is a full renovation, right? Renovation of the property to increase cash flow by changing fundamentally what the house is there, the size of it, and so forth. But that's a bit of a bigger discussion, and we'll keep that on for a different Daily Nugget another day. But I just want to come back to the first point about increasing rent to market rate. One thing, please, to anyone that's listening or watching at the moment, if you are below that market rate, be respectful of what your increases are. If you've been 5 years behind and you are 30% behind market rate, you can't expect your tenant to consume that 30% increase on a 1-year renewal. So this is one of the biggest things when I speak to people out there, is if they realize that they're behind, go and increase it to get yourself to market rent, but you can't chase 5 years behind within 1 year. You've got to go over 1 or 2 or 3 years and slowly do those increases to catch up to a later stage, because I think your tenants will pretty much not stay if they get a 20 or 30% rent increase over 1 year.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to always respect your tenants. I think putting a really great product forward for your tenant is important, but as well as that, going and dropping a huge increase on them is not fair. At the end of the day, these are the people that we're providing housing for. Yes, they're paying you, but they're paying you because you are providing their housing, and you want to be able to produce the best product possible for them.
Awesome. Thanks, Jono. And to anyone else that has any questions for Jono or myself, the details will be in the description. Depends where you're watching or listening at the moment. If there's anything you want to know about increase of cash flow or ideas you have, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. But thanks again for coming over to the Daily Nugget, daily property insights, one topic, 20 minutes or less, 7 days a week. And as always, hope to see you tomorrow.